welcome to yet another Girl Who Don't You Know? It's with Marilyn Green. I am the THEE, the hostess with the mostest. And again, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, hey, right off the bat, I'm going to ask you to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube. And once you hear this, you're going to want to share it with a friend, all right? Because I am doing what I call Pink Voices. And Pink Voices is what I want to celebrate the lives of the heroes, congratulate them on their fight, because they fought a hard fight, but guess what? They won. So they're like superheroes at this point. So I just love to celebrate them and let them come out and tell their stories, tell what they're doing right now. So that's what we're going to do today. So I have a fabulous, amazing guest today. All right. Um, she's been on my show before, but what I love about her is that she did not let this stop her. She decided I can continue to fight, but I can continue to fight for others. So her name is Pamela C. King. I put the C in there. Pamela C. King, how you doing, girl? How you doing?
I am good, Marilyn. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Of course, of course, of course. I just love seeing your beautiful smile, and you're always so uplifted. And wow, you just be doing the doggone thing. That's all I can say. So, we are going to talk about you. And then I'm going to let you go ahead on and move it the way you need to move it, okay? And we'll just have a chatting it up conversation. So, all I can say is that take it away. The crowd loves you. Okay, go for it.
All right. Thank you, Marilyn, so much.
Sure.
And so, greetings, everyone. I am Pamela C. King.
Seeking.
C. King. I am an executive coach and a bold goal strategist, and helping people live their best life, live into their values, achieve their goals, and their vision of success by overcoming fear and replacing that with faith, turning misinformation and silence into awareness, and living into their strength with resilience. And so it is a pleasure to be here, especially this month, because I'm also a triple negative stage 3 breast cancer survivor. And I love being able to empower other women through education and equipping them with the resources that they need to be able to thrive through breast cancer, and be able to support them as a Portrait of Hope ambassador from 2024, and now a Voices of Black Women ambassador for the American Cancer Society. And so I'm excited to be here with my friend Marilyn.
Hey.
And be able to dispel the myths about breast cancer, and be able to learn and embrace the truths that save lives.
Wow, sounds good. So tell us a little bit about your journey. When you found out, how it made you feel, how your family reacted, things of that nature. And I think you also were dealing with things with your hubby as well. So you had it on all different sides. So share with our audience now, please.
Okay, so just the high level, the sky high view is in 2017, my husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and he conquered that battle in 2018. When he was going through his process and his journey. And so, I just, never anticipated to see where it would show back up in my household, because we had been there, done that. And yet a year later, I felt a lump in my breast. It was warm, and it was hot to the touch. And I do my self mammograms. And my self exams, I do my monthly self exams, and I felt this lump. My armpits were a little tender when I was putting on deodorant. And so I made an appointment to see my doctor. She initially had recommended earlier in the year a pre-screening mammogram, which my insurance denied because they said I wasn't old enough and didn't have enough risk factors. And so that initial, what should have been a pre-screening mammogram, actually became diagnostic. And so this was in August. So this was summertime. I'm busy working. We busy being super women, doing all the things. And so this was a moment of pause. And I had I have 2 boys. And at the time, one was in 8th grade and one was in 10th grade. And so go through the process, and the doctors had to have multiple biopsies. And then I get the call, the results, like the day before school started for my boys. And the doctor tells me that I have triple negative breast cancer, which the science behind that is it's a very aggressive cancer. As a matter of fact, mine was metastasizing at a 95% rate, and
Wow.
30 is considered high. And so it required immediate action, and there was some shock because we had just did this, and my husband had just beat cancer the year before. And so how in the world could this show up in my household again? And I'll tell you, Marilyn, there's some myths I believed that made me think, not me, would never happen to me. I don't have a family history of breast cancer. I'm the first one in my immediate family to be diagnosed with breast cancer. Not my mom, not my aunts, not my grandmother, just me. I was also
Mm.
only 41 years old. So I didn't look like the older women, I say older, mature women, that they show on TV, right? Like I didn't have grandchildren, I'm not in the Medicare, age group. And so like there was some myths based on commercial advertising, that just made me think I was invincible. And the fact of the matter was, I'm not, that breast cancer can happen to anyone at any age. And so my family and I got through it with faith. It was hard. It was challenging. My body had to endure a lot of things. I had to endure chemo, 5 months of chemo, and 7 weeks of radiation, multiple surgeries, mouth sores, my nails falling off, my hair coming out, no eyebrows, no eyelashes. And right before I rang the bell, COVID happened.
Mm.
And so my journey had a lot of challenges, and my faith in God, my healer, and also the Holy Spirit, which is where I get wisdom to continue this journey. It was not easy. It was more than that. It was hard,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it took a village to get me
Wow.
through. And so I'm here today to be able to tell the story, to dispel those myths that I believed, and to speak truth, to help save lives.
I love that whole it was a 30,000 feet view, but it still was very, very down to 10,000 for me, because you said some things about 95% rate. That's how aggressive it was, or
Yes,
wow, it was growing that fast.
yes, ma'am. It had already metastasized to my lymph nodes when I was diagnosed. So it had already spread throughout the left side of my lymph nodes in my body, just that quickly.
You know what? Let me say something, Pamela. What I found with the interviews that I've had with the thrivers, survivors, is that each one, it looked different. It looked different. You
Mm,
cannot say, you know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying. It looks
yeah.
different. And what I'm thinking about now is that how COVID-19 had a signature, but it wrote it a different way in your life and my life. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? So that's the part right there. That's the part right there. And I just feel as though you can be a person that's getting your mammograms, you can do this, you can do that and stuff, but it could change overnight,
Yes.
right? So we have a combination of mammograms, self breast exam. We have all that going on and do all that and still miss it. Still miss it.
Absolutely.
It's like, what? I had someone on and says that, okay, I got a mammogram and in 6 months it had done this. I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? It's almost like you chasing your tail almost, if you will. It's like it's just hard. But
Yeah.
we all know that getting the mammogram, the self-care at home is your best prevention.
Early detection.
Yeah. Early.
Absolutely. And as I highlighted, Marilyn, I had just had a well woman's exam earlier that year,
Wow.
right? And so if I had only relied on that and not know my body, not do the monthly exams, even if
Mm-hmm.
I had found the lump, and you know how we feel things that don't feel right, but we ignore it, or we say,
Uh-huh.
oh, we'll see if it goes away. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we ignore the things that our body is telling us that require attention. And so, yes, it can happen at any time. And so it's not just doing self exams, say, oh, I don't feel anything, so I'm good. But no, it is in partnership with us
Mm-hmm.
knowing our body, doing self
Mm-hmm.
exams, going to our mammogram appointments, and now the age has been reduced, not needing to have a family history, but mammogram screenings can start now at 40, thanks to the advocacy of organizations like the American Cancer Society, where the
Exactly.
research tells us that diagnosis is not restricted to family history, to
Mm-mm.
age, or ethnicity.
Right. Wow. I just got through a recording a person who says that one of the things that we do need to know, though, is our history.
Yeah.
Our history. And you just said there was no history. But what I say on that is that our people are so secretive that it may be a history somewhere that
Well,
that you may not know of. You know what I'm saying? But you're the first one that you know. I get what you're saying. But
yeah,
her thing was that, and the main thing we were driving home is that know your history.
absolutely.
Know your history, So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And here's the thing, you're talking to a person that loves genealogy. So here's truth for you. My husband's grandfather, born in 1863, died of breast cancer in 1936. I have the death certificate to reflect that. So we've been at
Wow.
this for a while, and men get breast cancer too.
Yes. I just recorded somebody and her uncle had it.
Yes.
Okay.
So
So,
not my direct bloodline, but my husband's grandfather, 1936.
what the? Now, this is good right here. Not good, but I'm like, what? Because I like
Well,
that history. I like that stuff too,
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm like, what?
And we have to
What?
know, we have to have these conversations. We can't just say, oh, this, oh, that. We finally got to the point where we're talking more than just secondhand smoke, but there's an awareness now that is happening where we respond differently. We don't just
Mm-hmm.
call it the sugar, we call it diabetes now. Like we have to know the things that we're doing. And it's not about pointing the finger. It's not about blame, but it is about awareness. I've done the BRCA test. I've done the genetic marker test. I have no markers, none. I am completely negative for
Wow.
BRCA1, BRCA2, and all the current testing that
Mm-hmm.
reflect a high risk for cancer. I have none of it, but yet and still not immune.
Not immune. Wow. Wow.
So it takes that cape off a little bit when you think you're invincible.
I was just going to say something about that. I think it's the goofy thing we think when we 20 that somebody at 70 is old, super old, okay?
Mhm.
But when you get to 70, you be like, okay, this all right, And then you start calling everybody little youngsters. I'll tell you something funny. My mother was saying, she said, I think that man trying to go with me. I think he kind of liked me or something, after my father had passed. And she said, but he too young for me. I said, well, how old is he? She said 70. I said, what? 70. Okay, but she was like up and close to 90 at the time. And I'm just
Perspective.
like,
Perspective.
it's perspective. It's perspective. But when we talk about being invincible, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. You might be invincible. You say, not me. That's for somebody else.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't get that. I don't have that. I don't have no history of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever and stuff, so you can get into that mindset, Pamela, that's like, I ain't got to worry about that. I'm too busy with other stuff. Okay.
Absolutely. Or
Yeah. Yeah.
thinking that because we have conquered another challenge, maybe another health situation, or maybe another traumatizing situation, that surely in our faith we think, oh, I've overcome, therefore, surely this won't happen to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? As though it's a
Mm-hmm.
punishment, and it's not.
It's not. It's not. I mean, I just say all this dis-ease is tricky. It's just
Yes.
tricky. Yeah. So you went through all that, and then you moved, and I see right here that you decided to do some advocacy work,
Yeah.
and I see here that portrait of hope. Talk to me about that.
So in 2024, I met Avery Starnson, and she had found me on LinkedIn because I'm not quiet, I'm not muted, and I'm not silenced about my journey and all the things I've overcome as a sexual assault survivor, and what I had to endure waiting for justice
Mm-hmm.
after 29 years, and I got
Yes,
that.
I
So being a
recall.
fighter is not new for me. I am also an Iraq veteran. And so I know what it's like to go through something hard and to battle, as someone who overcomes PTSD and and had to confront those things and get the help
Mm-hmm.
I needed to be able to move forward. Can't go back to what was, but learn the skills to move forward. And so I have a history of advocacy and using my voice and my stories to create change and empower others to give them the power of choice. And so for me, when Avery approached me about being a portrait of hope, what I loved about our group of Portraits of Hope in 2024 for the St. Louis region is we reflected all the faces of breast cancer. We had women that were Black, white, older, younger, and breast cancer. There's different types of breast cancer. There are HER2 positive, HER2, like there's, when you get in the club, you start to learn that all breast cancers are not the same and they're not
Mm-hmm.
treated the same, so far as treatments. And so that 2024 Portrait of Hope ambassador group that I had to be the pleasure of being a part of, we reflected all the different shades and all the different colors and all the different ethnicities and age groups, and that breast cancer impacts. We even had a caregiver as part of our group, and so recognizing that breast cancer impacts all of us, and
Everybody.
it's not limited to young or old, white or Black, American. One of the ladies that was part of our group was Korean, and so when you talk about knowing your family history, and if you were raised by someone other than your parents, other
Okay.
than the person that raised you, and so even knowing your biology makeup. And so being a Portrait of Hope, it was phenomenal. Got a chance to raise awareness, and be able to provide support, amplify the message of hope, be able to tell the stories, and be able to raise money for research,
Mm-hmm.
because finding out the facts about breast cancer and what it takes to save lives, it does take money. It takes an
Yes, it
investment.
does.
But can I just tell you something that touched my heart more than I can really describe? And that is the opportunity to meet Jade Weber. And so she is one of the PhD candidates that is specifically studying triple negative breast cancer in a
Wow.
lab at
Wow.
Washington University, who is from Edwardsville, Illinois. She's not some, pie in the
Yeah.
sky, untouched. We got to go to their lab. I got to put eyes on the researcher. She was creating this molecular, scientific way of
Yeah.
being
Yeah. I
able to
get you.
isolate, like all the science things. But what was beautiful was she became the face of my hope, because triple negative breast cancer had not been deeply studied, because it is part of the rare parts of breast cancer. And so it requires a level of intensity and study that had not been deeply researched. And so to know that there are people actually doing this work. And so what I love is what she said to me is, I became the face that made this real, not just a cell in the lab. And
Mm-hmm.
she gave me hope, because it let me know that someone is doing this work, that someone is researching the cure to not just cure it, but eradicate it. And
Right.
so that is what being a Portrait of Hope really blessed me with last year. And I'm forever part of the Portrait of Hope community. So I've had a chance to meet the Portraits of Hope across the country, and being able to ally together and be able to raise awareness and educate and give hope.
I love that. I really do. I really do. I'm getting kind of like some little bumps and stuff, because that's all it's about is hope. And when you talk about they need money. You need money to keep this up, because once money goes away when you're doing research, they tend to sweep it up under the carpet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think about the fact that as African American myself, a female and stuff, our stuff would get swept under the carpet. We probably don't have nothing to sweep. I'm just saying. Okay. But we really, really need to get into this. And I'm so glad that you're bringing this out so that people can research it and find out even more,
Yeah.
because I've talked to ladies who had that triple negative, and all that breast cancer, but I don't think they know this. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I don't think they know this because I think if they knew more, then they would advocate more themselves,
Yeah.
But I do think that they're doing the best that they can based on their general knowledge, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And not everyone has has the desire to share their story. And there's no judgment against, going through this journey, and the hope you have is the hope you need to get through it. Not everyone is open in public. Some people are private about that. And there's
Mm-hmm.
no, like, that's okay too. I had a girlfriend, I didn't even know that she was a breast cancer survivor. I didn't meet her when she was going through it. It wasn't something that
Mm-hmm.
just came up in our conversation. But when I was diagnosed, that was the call that I got. And so, it's and there are others who identify as breast cancer survivors but choose not to share their journey. For me, it has always been bigger than me, and I never wanted my story to die with me if there's an opportunity to create change. And so, whether it was for sexual assault or breast cancer awareness or Iraq veterans, I have breath in my body, and I use it to tell the story, to give
Yeah.
people hope and a message of faith, and to also advocate for the changes. I had to get a new oncologist because my first one did not work out. We were not on the same page with when it came to my treatments or communication. And so I
Mm-hmm.
called a girlfriend who worked inside of the hospital that had direct access to an oncologist who specialized in triple negative breast cancer. And we worked together to get me the help that I needed. But that took advocacy, and it took not giving up. Going through this during COVID, like the
Oh,
medical
wow.
billing, I was double billed because of, all the things. I couldn't go and sit down with someone. And so I needed to call an advocate, say, hey, I need help trying to manage my care because this is not working. And so we all need that voice
Mm-hmm.
that will speak on behalf of those of us that feel tired, worn out, muted, unheard, unseen. And so
Yeah.
at times I get to be that voice.
Well, I mean, and then also the word you left out is weary. You get
Yes.
weary and then all this. You'd be like, I'm just tired.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, but I understand being in public health, what happened with that COVID-19. We didn't know everything we needed to know. I mean, this is whole different.
Yeah.
So the way the methodology of care changed, telehealth,
Yeah.
Zoom. Everybody know about Zoom now. WebEx. Okay, I can say people older than me learn how to do some things. And so all is the top half of somebody. You've never seen their whole body. I mean, it's just, girl, it took us somewhere.
Look, let
So,
me tell you, and this is true story. The year I was diagnosed, my neighbor 2 doors to the left of me was diagnosed 3 months before me. My neighbor to the right of me, 2 doors down, was diagnosed with breast cancer about the same month. But it was COVID, so we didn't know. And we all have this connection at Scott Air Force Base where they have breast cancer. We have a breast cancer support group. Shout out to Donna and my Scott Air Force, my Team
okay.
Scott Breast Cancer Sisters. But we all had masks on, right? So I go to the meeting, and she's like looking like, you look familiar. And I'm like, man, she looks familiar. But we only see people's eyes, right?
Yeah,
And we got on a
yeah,
hat
yeah,
because we're all
yeah.
bald. And so I was like, I think, and she's like, Pam, And it's like, wow, like, so, we had that distancing isolation. You only see eyes. None of us had eyebrows anyway, and eyelashes,
Right.
no hair. Folks look different when you don't have all the things that you normally have to identify people with. So yes,
Yes.
that had an influence on everything.
Yeah, it did, because I mean, wow, you were almost setting the course. You were shaping policy by
Yes.
saying somebody's gonna hear me, okay, and somebody gonna change some things. So you were the cutting edge of policy, known or unbeknownst by you. You were, because they like, we don't know what to do here, and then you come like, hey, somebody better see me, somebody better hear me, somebody better do. So they said, oh, we better put some standard operating procedures in order to help Pamela C. King with what she with what she going through. But I do applaud you for being that voice of the voices. Okay, so in
Yeah.
speaking of that, tell me a little bit about the Voices of Black Women Ambassador, okay? And I'm going to put it up here. So while you're talking, I'm going to try to do what I'm supposed to do. So go ahead.
All right, so let's talk about the Voices of Black Women research program. And so it is done through the American Cancer Society. And what they're trying to do is get 100,000 Black women to participate in this research study. It doesn't require a blood draw. It doesn't require folks making a doctor's appointment. It just requires, filling out a survey. The only stipulations are that you cannot have a personal history of cancer diagnosis. They want women between the ages of 25 to 55 as the target group. And so, but it's open to everyone in every state that meets those criteria. And what they're trying to do is, this is the first study of its kind that is this wide. It is nationwide. And what they're trying to identify is what is causing the health disparities between Black women and breast cancer. Because what we do know is that Black women are diagnosed at a lesser rate for breast cancer, but dying at a higher rate than white women when they are diagnosed with breast cancer. And so they have the researchers that are trying to understand what are the factors, the social economic factors, what are the environmental factors, what are the things that are influencing specifically these negative outcomes, these life threatening outcomes when it comes to Black women. And so they're asking Black women to join this movement, to join this cause, and be able to make a difference and create a different outcome for the women in our future, that we can do something today to make a change that will save lives tomorrow and in our future. And so we're just asking women that fit within that population, that, and even if you don't, like, I'm gonna tell you, I was so excited that this work was being done. I filled out the survey and I didn't read all the instructions. So I met the age group, like I met the target location that they were looking for at that time. But I totally glossed over the fact that they didn't want people that had been, not that they didn't want, but they were not looking for participants who had a personal history of breast cancer. Did the whole survey, then read the very last part afterwards and was like, oops, I wasn't supposed to. So I reached out to them and I said, hey, I don't mean to mess up your data, but I'm so passionate about getting this word out and helping to do something actively to save the lives of Black women when it comes to breast cancer, that they offered me the opportunity to become an ambassador as they were building up their ambassador program. And so this is our opportunity, Black women, to amplify, to be a part of the research that is looking to save lives, to save our lives, and to dispel the myths, to break up with the lies, to speak truth, to find the research and the data that changes the things that can help us. These same types of research campaigns that have been done by the American Cancer Society for years, these are the reasons that we're able to get mammograms under the age of 50. that we're now able to get them as young as 40 with no personal history. These are the things that for women that have dense breasts, heavy breasts, that have those thick muscle tissues, that we're able to also get MRI breast screenings in addition to annual mammograms that help with detection for those that where breast cancer may not be easily detected by an annual mammogram. And so this change is important. It is breakthrough, and we have an opportunity to amplify the way in which we save lives, and we can do this together, and we can do this right now. And so I invite your listeners to go to the link, to go to voices.cancer.org and find out more, share the word, become an ambassador, support the survey, tell a friend that we can do this together and we can all make a difference.
All righty, I'm trying to do this right here. Okay, thanks so much. You know, I love that me and you was on there, but I started thinking, I'm like, wow, are we gonna be able to put this in the final if we both on there? So anyway, the voice was there, if nothing else. So I'm excited about that, you know. But hey, that sounds really good. And also for those who don't know, Girl Who Don't You Know has a newsletter, and we are going to put that information in my newsletter. And if you're not getting my newsletter, you're missing out. Okay, let me say that. And this is my third iteration of it. And I am going to have contributing authors such as Pamela C. King. So hopefully you'll get a copy of it, or if you put your email in the comment, I'll make sure that you get it, because there's some other good things in there. And this is one of the biggest things for the month of October. So, okay. Sounds good. Okay, let me see. Okay, let's talk about the work you do with people beyond your advocacy. I know you are executive coach, professional development consultant. So I know you all that, but do you get a lot of calls of people who are in crisis, meaning that they just got diagnosed, they just did this, they just that? So what do you do with them? Or is that part of your coaching and development? Is that part?
It's the whole of who I am.
Okay.
And in the way that God designed me, I also minister to the brokenhearted and those that are struggling and with healing from whatever the things are that broke them. And so when I would share my story as a sexual assault survivor, there are those that would reach out, and my family, my daughter, or other survivors just needing resources, help, or just someone to have compassion and to be able to listen. And so the whole of who I am is if someone reaches out to me and they have been recently diagnosed or they've been referred to me, because that's happening too, I listen. And I listen, and then I ask them, you know, what does support look like for you? You know, what do you need to increase your hope? Hope is a choice, and hopelessness is a hard place to be in. And so, you know, I offer resources. I am not the resource, but I am a connector. And so if they reach out and there's a need, I try to point them in the direction to meet that need, whether it is prayer, whether it is, you know, connecting with a support group, resources, or just, you know, being someone that understands this journey is hard, and just encouraging them.
I like that journey of hard. You know, I don't want that, but I'm just saying I like the way you said it. Okay, so let's see here. You're also an author. You got a book, The Beautiful Ones, Beauty for Ashes. Okay, I got all your stuff. Okay, don't try to escape. All right, but anyway, the Beautiful Ones, Beauty for Ashes. Okay, it's an inspirational message. All right, so tell us a little bit about that, and after that, I'll ask you one more question, then we'll be done. So go for it.
Okay, so the Beauty for Ashes, and it's just recognizing that God takes broken things and makes them beautiful. And so it's a compilation. I am not the visionary behind that. Stacy Fields, shout
Okay.
out to Stacy. She had the vision of bringing together stories, powerful stories of women who have just overcome all kind of difficult things. And that vision was originally she shared in like 20, I want to say 2021. But as we were all presenting our stories, women, even in the midst of that, were being hit with tragedies. One woman lost her son to gun violence, and so
Mm.
so hard kept happening, and so it kept getting delayed. And then finally, all the stories came together, and the vision was that the book would be gifted to young women to be able to show them all the facets of womanhood and the power that we have, for me, through the Holy Spirit, to be able to overcome and not be taken out by the things that were coming against me. And so I share my story as a little girl who had to face the principal because the little boy had popped my bra. And I responded in such a way that they wanted to suspend me. And so that's when I learned, that was the first part of learning that time does not heal. And so in the book that I share that, time doesn't heal. That's a myth, but healing can take place when
Wow.
we acknowledge ourselves as being broken and we let God do the mending.
That's right. Wow. Okay. So my last thing is that I do ask my guests to fill out a form, and you wrote a positive message here, and it says, "Victory isn't defined by a diagnosis. When we walk by faith, rise with resilience, and amplify the voices of women as a community, we have the power to create change for generations." Tell us about victory isn't defined by a diagnosis. Tell me that part.
We often think that we have to wait until we get the doctor's report. And I first learned that victory is not defined by a date in the courtroom, right? Victory does not equal justice. And so we can have victory in our faith. We can have victory in our hope. We can have victory today, right now, while we wait, while we're
Mm-hmm.
going through. We can claim that in our actions. We can claim that in our daily walk. We can choose hope and walk in victory today. We don't have to wait until we get to the bell ringing or we get to the other side of whatever we think good is,
Mm-hmm.
that we can be unstoppable today. We can be victorious right now. We don't have to wait until a date on the calendar or until an appointment comes where we get good news. We can have victory over our mindset, victory over our weariness, victory over despair, victory over hard right now.
Right now. That sounds good. That sounds good. Wow. Wow. I love talking to you, of course. And but all good things have to end sometime. And I hate that I have to move, but I gotta move. But listen, thank you, Pamela C. King, for coming on my show and sharing your truth and advocating for what other people are doing to help us live better lives. I appreciate that. So, guess what? You need to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I am Marilyn Green, the hostess with the mostest, okay, of Girl Who Don't You Know. Until next time, have a super, super great night. Bye bye.